Hello, it's Stephen Van Kampen-Lewis on July 3rd. It is a Friday and I have the day off because tomorrow is a holiday here in the United States. So I am filming an extra episode this week. And today's discussion will be about first blooming plants and why you shouldn't necessarily judge your plants based on the first bloom. So to jump straight into it, let's talk about how ugly first blooming plants can be. Sometimes they are absolutely dog ugly, and then in subsequent bloomings, these plants will perk up and get their act together. In fact, it's kind of interesting that at least with orchids, I don't know if there's other plants that need practice the way orchids do, but the first one or even two bloomings can be ugly, just straight up ugly. Even though you can have an amazing plant that, by the time it's on its third or fourth blooming, you're like, wow, this is like night and day. For some reason, orchids of all different genera will have ugly blooms the very first time they attempt to flower, and I don't really understand why that is. You would think that nature would have made it so that they don't need practice. I mean, they create their flower and bloom and it looks great every time, but that's not the case. In fact, I have two Cattleyas that I'm going to show you here in a moment. The first one is hideous. It's a first bloom. I'm really disappointed by the way it looks, but again, it's the first bloom and it is what it is. I will judge it next year, and then the year after that, will be really the final determination of whether I want to keep this particular flower or not. So I'm going to show you here. This is Cattleya tigrina. Used to be called Cattleya leopoldii. This particular cross is super dark by Carnival, and so it is, two high quality parents. And these high quality parents have created a dog ugly flower. So tigrina should have a nice flat lip. This curliness and rolling of the petals and sepals is terrible. The color is terrible on these flowers. It is not how a tigrina should look. As you can see, even, most of the buds aborted on this particular spike and fell off. I was able to get 3 flowers, but even as these buds were developing, so if you're not aware, as the flowers are developing, they're actually upside down. And then at the very last moment, they roll over and open up. So I had these lips. These lips developed faster than the rest of the plant. So these lips were sticking out as buds. They had their color, and I already knew that something was going to be odd. Luckily, one of the great things about first blooms is that the scent, at least on this one, it's not always true, but this one, they're able to get the scent right. Other first bloomings can affect the scent, though. Sometimes you won't have any scent on a plant that should have a scent, or it'll be shorter. And that's another thing. In addition to odd scents and odd looking flowers for the first bloom, sometimes the first bloom is very short. Sometimes, if a flower is supposed to last for 2, 3, 4 weeks, maybe it'll only last for 1 week. So again, these plants really need a lot of practice sometimes, and I don't want you to get discouraged. I mean, you can see all of them have some level of wonkiness that's really only attributable to a first bloom plant. You can see that this is a nice, big, healthy plant, big fat bulbs. The leaf color is good, massive root system. There's really no explanation for this particular ugliness except for the fact that it's a first bloom. Or maybe it'll be an ugly flower, who knows? And next year, if it looks like this, and then the following year, if it looks like this, maybe I will sell it or get rid of it in another way. Who knows? I want to show you this next flower. This is Cattleyas varsavixii, which used to be called Cattleyas gigas, and it is known for having monstrous flowers. It's a unifoliate. This first one, Tigrina, is a bifoliate. And this particular flower has some of the best coloration of any Cattleya I've ever grown in my entire life. I'm super excited to have it. But this year, the flowers are really small, and I don't know why. So let's just jump into this one. Look at the color on this, just absolutely amazing. This is Cattleyas varsavixii. This is Bedford. This is one of Fred Clark's recent offerings. It's SVO by Bedford. And I bought this as a seedling a few years ago, and last year had really nice flowers, but the flowers were really small as well, at least for this species. But just look at the color on this. Absolutely amazing. It's got these little flares at the tips of the petals there. Hopefully you can see that. And just this absolutely vibrant lip. The eye spots here are still there, but they're kind of reduced. And that's probably from the Bedford influence. So I've got 3 blooms on this spike, and I've got 2 blooms on this spike. And smells good. Again, nice, healthy, vigorous plant. My guess for why the blooms are so small, well, I've got a couple guesses. My first guess is that this particular flower or this particular plant is an overachiever. It put out 5 blooms. Maybe it can't really handle that much blooming and that much energy devoted to blooming. So we'll see next year. So this is the 2nd blooming. Next year will be the 3rd blooming. Maybe it's just a dwarf variety. I don't know. Finally, maybe it's the heat. It's consistently above 95 degrees, or at or above 95 degrees this time of year. Maybe the heat is sapping some of the energy from this particular plant, so it's not able to put out full-size blooms. But boy, the color is absolutely amazing on this. It's probably not going to win any awards with this size flowers, but if I'm able to get the petals and sepals larger and the overall flower size larger, I think it's very possible, again, just based on the color, that it could be an awardable plant. We'll see. Who knows? Just such intense color. Absolutely. And a nice scent. Although the scent on the Tigrina is way better, but this is nice as well. So, long story short, don't judge a flower on its first bloom. And please, if you like these videos, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, tell your friends, and I will talk to you later. Happy 4th of July to everyone in the United States.